This video is going to cover the behind the bumper winch install on my 1997 FZJ80 Land Cruiser. Toyota, in their infinite wisdom, cut a notch out of the bumper right here, and it's perfect. So we're able to put an extension on it to get to this nut at the top of the bumper. Pretty nice. What you're looking at now are the frame rail extensions at the front of the frame rail. Those are for your airbags. So if you have a 95 to 97 vehicle, keep them. They're very important. This lip is coming off even with this here just above the wheel, so that it's even with this, so that this doesn't interfere with the third bolt hole. It should just slide on.
Look at that.
We're just going to shave this off so that it'll fit, and we think that's going to be the solution for us. This looks good though, because now, as you can see, it's not interfering with the winch mount touching the frame rail, which is what we want. Okay, so this is pretty much perfect. It's just enough sticking out to put a little pressure on the winch mount. Now we're going to see if there's this bolt going in interferes with this bolt, so we have to make sure that this bolt doesn't go in too far. It's going to be close. Here's a potential problem, and this is what the solution is going to be. This is it looks like the symbol for the company that makes this, Trail Tailor, but it also leaves some sharp corners here. As the winch is starting to spool, the cable is starting to spool back onto the drum. If it starts to get thick in the middle, it can catch on one of these corners and potentially cut or fray the synthetic rope. So what we're gonna do as a solution is find just a really, really thin piece of metal, maybe sheet metal, and just cover this up very flat, maybe drill a hole here just to hold it down, so that if the rope touches this, it won't get caught and it won't start to fray. This is a solution, just a flat piece of sheet metal. It was cut out 9 by 8.5, which fits right between the bolt holes for the winch mount. And we don't think we're going to even try to mount this. We're just going to mount the winch, because this is not going this way, and the winch will keep it from sliding this way. I don't think it's going to rattle. So we think that's it. So, and it's thin enough. This is probably, it shouldn't interfere with the winch. This is maybe what, a 1/16 of an inch. So we think that's the solution. Okay, this plate was cut so that it would fit within the feet of the winch. I didn't want the winch sitting on the corner, and on one spot it was just barely on the corner, so it wasn't sitting flat on the winch mount, and I was just a little uncomfortable with torquing it down like that. So anyway, I went back and just shaved off just a little bit more of this plate so that the winch feet will sit flat on the winch mount, and I feel a lot more comfortable torquing it down. This isn't moving, it's not going forward and backwards, and with the feet here, there's nowhere for it to move, so it's not going anywhere. The next step, I'm gonna mount the winch to the bracket to the frame, connect the wires. While I'm doing that, my buddy is gonna cut out the fairlead section of the bumper and the top of the bumper for the spool release on the winch. By the time I finish that, he finishes this, we'll be ready to put it back on. This hole is going to be used to insert a modified clutch handle that'll then attach to the handle on the top of the winch. We now need to determine where the bumper cutout is going to be for the fairlead. So in order to do that, we remove the winch, and so the plan is to mock the bumper back to the winch mount. But the fairlead is on. It won't let us get the bumper on far enough to be able to mark this. In order to get the bumper mocked, we're going to have some cardboard, a cardboard cutout of the fairlead. With fairlead, we trace the fairlead onto the cardboard, and the cardboard is going to get mounted on the front of the winch mount just as the fairlead would. And what that's going to enable us to do is mock the bumper all the way on as far as it's going to go, and then from the back on this side of the mount, what we're going to do is mount the bumper, and then we can trace from the back of the bumper where it needs to be.
We'll mark this center. I'm gonna cut this out so I can basically with the marker draw this shape onto the bumper like that, wherever it's gonna be, and that will give me the location where I need to start cutting for our piece.
And in theory, when we finish, the bumper should be a perfect fit right over the fairlead.
We're gonna cut this section so we can trace it with the marker
From the back side.
Onto the bumper.
And then from there
we'll go. Yeah.
We're gonna go. All right, so this is the result of having the bumper mocked up, taking this piece of cardboard, drawing the center section, and now taking this piece of cardboard, which is the same size as the fairlead, and tracing the whole thing out. And then, so if you remove that, if you remove the cardboard, you can see this is what we're gonna need to have cut out so that it matches the fairlead. And what's gonna happen, yeah, it's gonna look real good. So what we're gonna do, you can see that that's a good match that way. And so what we're gonna do is cut little at a time, starting from the center, and just cut out to maybe here, and then we're gonna file it down, grind it down a little at a time until it's a perfect fit for the fairlead when we slide the bumper back on. And if all goes well, it'll be a perfect fit with very little, if any, room around the outside of the fairlead.
Later,
Look at this, that looks real good.
Oopsie. Using some files, I was able to shave this pretty good, and it'll fit like so.
Perfect. That is good enough for government work. Can't beat that. One other thing for anybody who's thinking of doing this, the nut on the back of this, no, the bolt was a bit long, and the bolt went through the fairlead, through the winch mount, and it was too long, and it was bumping into the winch.
Yeah.
So the solution is to put washers here to shorten the bolt so that it doesn't go in so far. That's first. And the second thing is to put the nut on. The nut was too fat to go between the winch and the back of the winch mount. So that was filed down with the grinder, not a drill, with a grinder, and took off about a 1/16 of the nut so that the nut barely fits between the winch and the back of the winch mount. And now we have a perfect fit. When trying to get this nut in, there's no room for you to get your fingers. So a quick solution was to use a zip tie, because the nut is nowhere for it to fall back or forward. And with the zip tie, you can just sit the nut in there and guide it up or down in order to get the bolt lined up. And in order to snug it, you can pull the zip tie a little bit, which will keep it from turning enough to be able to torque it down. So I'm going to leave the zip tie until it's time to tighten it up. And once we pull on the zip tie, tighten this down as much as need to be, and then just cut the zip tie and pull it out. Okay, so we got some grade 8 washers because the holes on the winch mount are a little wider. So I went with grade 8 just to keep them from the washer from flexing when this is torqued down or when the winch starts to put any pressure. All the electrical connections are wired. I'm going to go ahead and get this faceplate. Get the bolts in there to hold that down, but so far so good. I want to make sure this stud here, this bumper stud, so it's easier to put the bumper in where these studs are put in first at the top, and then sort of slide the bumper around over the fairlead and pop it back. But you want to make sure this stud is as far back as you can get, so that there's room to reach the handle. And also, you want this as far back as it can get. Okay, we can see this is a perfect fit. The bumper is all the way back as far as it needs to go, and this trail trailer behind the bumper winch mount comes right up to the bumper. I mean, it is a perfect fit. We had to leave the fairlead a little loose so we could raise it up and down to get the bumper on. There's about a ½ inch space between the top of this handle and the bottom of the bumper. Press and hold the on-off button for 3 seconds. It goes off, and I'll throw this in the glove box along with the cable just in case the wireless doesn't work for some reason. But that's it. Install is complete. And I'm going to go ahead and connect the Warren disconnect switch. It's a little bit different from the one that comes with the winch disconnect. So this is the disconnect switch that comes with it. This is a switch that comes with it. It's manual. You toggle it on and off. Kills the power to the winch. Mount it under the hood somewhere. But I am going to use the Warren switch, which is this guy. The switch on the inside is off, so what we're going to do is hold this down for 3 seconds and it will turn on the remote. 1, 2, 3, boom, red light right there. So now this is on. Let's set the control box to remote. We do that by opening this little window here. Flip this up, and there's a button right there. I'm going to flip that up. Now remote is on right there. I'm going to try and let the winch out. Nothing should happen. And nothing. You can see that the remote is sending a signal to the control box. The control box, however, is not able to function because it doesn't have access to the battery because of the solenoid. So now let's turn the switch on and see if we get this to come out. And on. There's the light. And let's see, out. There we go. That's it. There we go, nice and tight. This is my plan on how I'm going to fish this bolt in. I'm going to come in from this side with the magnet. Okay. This license would fit onto this. We're going to have to drill a hole in the license. Now, I didn't need a grommet on this, but I happen to have some. And It happened to be the exact same size of this bolt that I'm using, and it keeps this bolt from rattling around in here. And this barely fits, so I'm hoping that it keeps the tag from wearing with the bolt sliding around each time I lift it. Anyway, all right, that's it. This is the end of the winch project with the flip-up license tag. I hope you will like, follow me, and subscribe as I continue to fix, repair, and upgrade my backyard find. I'll see you in the next video.